Okay, today we looked at proving the quadratic formula by completing the square. So I'm just going to go over this proof one more time so that you really get an idea of what we're doing. We're going to prove the quadratic formula. This is a general quadratic equation. And what I want to do is derive the quadratic formula by completing the square. So we're going to complete the square. First thing you do if you're going to complete the square, make sure that there's no, make sure that the coefficient from the x squared term is 1. So we're going to get x squared plus b over ax plus c over a equals 0. And I'm going to move c over a to the other side. This is just our first step on anything. Make sure we have no constants. And make sure there's a 0, or make sure there's a 1 coefficient in front of the squared term. Okay, next thing I want to do is I want to complete the square. I want to figure out what do I add here. So I take half of this, well, multiply by half, b over 2a, and square it, which will give me b squared over 4a squared. And I have to add that to both sides, b squared over 4a squared. I can factor this side now, x plus b over 2a squared equals, let's get a common denominator here, so I'm going to multiply this and this by 4a, so I have minus 4ac over 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared, and I'm going to combine those. So I'm going to leave this side alone for just a second, just so I can get the other side looking how I want it to look. So over here I have negative 4ac, and I'll put the b squared in front, b squared minus 4ac all over 4a squared. And that's just writing, I've got the common denominator now, I'm just putting it together. Now what I can do, I have a square root over here, so I'm going to take the square root of both sides. I have a perfect square, so I have a perfect square on both sides, so I take square root. I get x plus b over 2a equals plus or minus the square root. On the top, I can't do the square root of this, I don't know what it is. But the bottom, I do know the square root of 4a squared. The square root of 4a squared is 2a. And then all I'm going to do is get x by itself, so I'll just follow the steps. Subtract b over 2a, subtract b over 2a, and I find out x equals negative b over 2a plus or minus radical b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I have a common denominator, so I'll put it all together. Negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And I've solved, actually I've derived the quadratic formula from a general quadratic. Here's the quadratic formula, this guy, and this is what we derived it from, ax squared plus bx plus c. Quadratic formula, your job, memorize this. We're going to use this actually to solve any quadratic equation we want to, whether it's factorable or not, no matter what, you can always use the quadratic formula to solve a quadratic equation.